Welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book Active and Ageless, no other than Mr. Aaron Hines.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Aaron, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
I'm located in Nashville, Tennessee, and my gym is located in Brentwood, Tennessee. I'm a five-time book author and a three-time bestseller. I also work with and specialize with the 15 older population as far as fitness training, and we also work with athletes from average Joes to pro athletes for that. That's kind of what I do, and I specialize with pre and post orthopedic injuries in my training facility. So that's my go-to and my kind of niche that I like to work with, and those people that we help.
Mr. Aaron Hines, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So, what is the primary focus of Active and Ageless?
The primary focus for that one, this book is to basically give a generalized and formal blueprint for people over the age of 40 who are looking for just an, I don't say basic information, but it's information that you can read and also take with you and apply and interact those into your daily living from exercises, flexibility, but also nutrition as well. It may seem pretty simple, but I'm a firm believer of simplicity works. And if you can do the simple things great, then we can add more complexity down the road. So start with the basics, and then we can also compile on that. So that's kind of the basis of what it's for. But it's also a book for those who just may be off track or just may not have anything interested in fitness. And hopefully, some of those things I talk about in there will be super helpful and kind of pique their interest to maybe get started.
Certainly. So, Mr. Aaron, how does the book address common myth about aging and fitness?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is we like to think about in the book is just more or less strength training. We want to actually increase the weight that we lift because I think a lot of time the misconception is, I don't want to be too bulky as I get older, or I don't want to lift a lot of heavy weight because I might get hurt. The biggest thing around that is progressive overload, and that's just adding a little bit more weight each and every time we work out to increase our strength. It's going to break down the muscle fibers and increase that strength long term. But as we age, things get harder. Bending down and picking things up, playing outside with your grandkids or even your kids or whatever it may be, the key to longevity is going to be strength and building that strength so that way you can do those things and do them for a lifetime and not just the here and now. So I think that's one of the biggest things on that. It's to do strength training and to increase your strength, but also, don't shy away from the heavyweights. You can do the fives and the tens, but let's pick our weights up to the 20s and 30s as well.
Definitely. So, Mr. Aaron, what types of exercise routines are recommended for individuals over 40?
Most of them are, I say, recommended is finding what's safe and beneficial for you. Everybody's going to be, I like to think of it genetically composed of our bones are different as far as just the length and width of our hips. So it's really just finding out what's going to be the most beneficial for you. It's what you like, not what I like. And from that string training, a lot of it could just be body weight. If I'm going to be real simple, we start with body weight and lifting our body with squatting, push-ups, lunges, whatever it may be. But also, if we can be real proficient in that, then we can be more complex to the strength training. Maybe adding in some yoga to that, or who knows, man. There's some people that are over the age of 40 and 50 and maybe 60 that do CrossFit. I mean, I'm the one that's finding what works for you and do more of it. Right? There's no one size fits all, in my opinion.
Certainly. And how did you suggest overcoming common barriers to starting a fitness program later in life?
I mean, the biggest thing is just like do your research on what you're looking for specifically, but also kind of dig deep on who that person is that can kind of help you. Because the biggest thing as we get older, things get harder to do, but you kind of sometimes lose that trust and that professional because you might have been to a place in your 40s and maybe 50s and had a bad experience. I just recently had a conversation with somebody that on yesterday about a bad experience that led to an injury. So some of those barriers of like um, what you did before, you had somebody you worked with you really liked, but they hurt you. So later on in life, it's kind of like, where do I start? And I think it's like I said, doing your research, finding somebody that can be super helpful for you, but also put you on the right track for success. That way, you're not just doing something just to do it. It's what you love to do, and you're going to want to do that from 70, 80, and lifespan for that. So some of those barriers too, though, is in my opinion, is just you don't know what you don't know. So there's a lot of things on the interwebs or the internets that say to do this and do that. So it's really got to find somebody who can kind of meet you in the middle on some of those things. Because I've got some outlandish requests from people or just things that come about in conversation that I don't agree with. But it's also like if the client wants to do that, we'll try it. We just got to really think about what they like again, but also we'll try it one time. And if it's not a good fit, then we'll do something else.
Certainly. Very well said. Mr. Aaron, very well said. So, what role does flexibility play in the fitness routines outlined in your book?
So the biggest thing with the flexibility is a lot of people we see, and the biggest thing that people don't want to do. I say this all the time: is we like to do things all the time that we really love to do, and some of that's just the same old routine. But if we incorporate the flexibility movement, and we can lengthen out the muscles and be less stiff, there's a lot of things we can do that you sometimes didn't think were possible. That's a lot of things we I preach with my clients is if we do the small things really well, and it's usually flexibility because to be honest with you, I would say probably 50% of my clients don't like to stretch. But if we really like to stretch and increase the range of motion through the joint, but also the muscles as well, there's a lot of things and a lot of things you can do better, but also more efficiently. And I think that's the biggest thing for that. That's the biggest role it plays. There's you know research out there that will say not to stretch before or not to stretch after workouts. To each their own with that, but use a lot of stationary flexibility movements in our programming, and it seems to one reduce the pain that some people have. Some goes all completely away after 4 to 6 weeks, but it's also that reduction as well. So if you incorporate it into your programming and do it on a daily basis, the sky's the limit on those things.
Sky is the limit, people.
Oh
So,
yeah.
how does active and ageless incorporate strength training into its fitness blueprint?
It's just a basic it gives us outline of what you can do on a daily basis. So with the blueprint itself, it gives you a routine for kind of an alternating, maybe it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday exercise programming for that, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So it's basically an outline to get you started and get you moving in the right direction. It's not a I would say a one size fits all, but it is a start. And that's the biggest thing for most people is just get started. And once you get started, the days kind of compound on each other. And that's when you start to see the biggest success for that. So, kind of a split on some of those days. Some are kind of a full body, and some are intertwined to be kind of a push pull with that. So I wouldn't say any routine is more superior than the other, but if you do it and do it to your best ability, that's what really matters, in my opinion.
Certainly. So, Mr. Aaron, what guidance does the book offer on balancing cardiovascular exercises with the other forms of training?
Yeah, so it really tries to encourage you to do more cardiovascular with walking, finding whichever mode of exercise you really like to do. I know walking is kind of taken off as being I don't say more superior, but as far as walking 30 minutes to an hour for individuals over the age of 40 is showing great benefit and success. The added, I guess, 10,000 steps a day is what most people try to shoot for. But if you're really not active for that, it's really, I guess, eye opening of what you really walk and how many steps you get in. So I would say to the 10,000 steps is kind of ideal, but also that 10 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day will improve that cardiovascular fitness to help you see long term results.
Certainly. So, are there specific recommendations for joint preservation and injury prevention?
Yeah, I think balance training is a big one. It's one that most people will neglect because it's not fun. It's not real flashy as far as exercise goes. So, single leg balance holds, walking, then trying to do multiple things at one time, whether it's walking in a straight line, almost like a DOI test, closing one eye, and just the proprioception we have to really focus on to keep our balance and control. That's one of the main things that would be helpful on top of everything else, because I think just the not it's not a fun thing to do, and that's one that people will kind of push off to the side. So I think something like yoga, tai chi, balance and control for those things would definitely help more people than none.
So, Mr. Aaron, how does the book address the importance of nutrition in conjunction with the exercise?
Yeah, so we like to think about everybody wants to focus on exercise and kind of, I don't say neglect nutrition, but if your nutrition is not dialed in and on point, some of the exercise and results that you want from your exercise will not be as consistent for that, or you won't get the results you want. So I'm a firm believer, and it kind of points out too that sometimes nutrition is a little bit more important than the exercise for that because if it's not you're not getting the right amount of carbs proteins and fats into your daily intake. Now a lot of the exercise itself you're going to kind of be more stagnant. You're not going to maybe lose those 1 or 2 pounds you want to over that 2 week time period. You may have a 0 pound loss and maybe even some weight gain if it's not really dialed in for that. So we just give you a basic blueprint on how to um, dial that in and what's going to be the most important things to eat and consume, but also a few suggestions on what to stay away from for that. Because we like to think of it as really eat the things that you probably don't eat as much of currently, and that's going to be probably your fish and beans and nuts. And stay away from a lot of the chips and cookies and ice creams. You can still have those things, but we like to go in moderation. And if that's a lot of things you consume, you're kind of on the scale. If you consume way more carbohydrates and protein. Let's try to scale those things back and let's increase that protein and dial back the carbs for better success because it will play a role in just strength gains, but also your sleep as well for that. So if you're way off, you could be really tired or you may be sleeping a lot more because you've got way too many carbs and no protein for that. So that's what we really try to dial in for that, just to give you some simplicity tactics to help you be more successful down the road.
Yes, people, stay away from too much sugar.
Yes.
So, Mr. Aaron, what would be your advice for those people out there want to exercise but procrastinating?
Yeah, that's the biggest. That's one of the probably the biggest excuses. I'm going to start tomorrow when you should probably should have started yesterday.
Yes.
Everybody has their fitness journey, and we're all at a certain stage of life as well, and just different circumstances. So, I would say the biggest thing for the procrastinators is let's try to like draw out a little bit of a plan. as far as being like on a piece of paper, whether it's you're going to get up and just walk for 10 minutes before work, or maybe going to walk on your lunch break, and let's just give him, 10-minute increments, 10 minutes at a time. And then once you be real consistent with that for maybe 3 or 4 days, then you can start adding time with that, because those who procrastinate, I think, are just maybe over consumed with so much information, but also just are really more worried about what people are going to think about their exercise routine. In reality, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to be able to fit the exercise routine and kind of your lifestyle and what works for you. Because what works for you is not going to work for me on that. So I would say just get started today. And if you can compound that on a 5 to 7 day trajectory, you're going to feel a lot better, and you're going to be wanting to do a little bit more.
Certainly, people, if you are want to exercise, please do it now for your health.
Exactly.
Because this is the best time to do it. So, Mr. Aaron, what will be your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
As far as so repeat that.
What will be your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
Oh, so yeah, for me, for it's more or less just getting out a little bit more. I say kind of content, or just videos in regards to my books. That's one thing I don't really showcase a whole lot of as far as what I do for that. But I think I have a goal to write kind of a, I don't say off brand of what I've currently been doing. I've been doing a lot of fitness books for athletes, and kind of joint ventures with other fitness pros. So, long term goal is to have a kind of children's book series out, just to introduce like the ins and outs of health and fitness, to hopefully make it fun for individuals under the age of 15, but kind of probably that 5 years old to 15, kind of in my kids' range as well. Just to find those things, maybe more of a superhero type book to introduce fitness and nutrition and sleep and all the fun things that I like to do, but also keep it on an entertaining level, to hopefully find other individuals that can, find the same passion that I do for health and fitness.
Good luck to your goal, Mr. Aaron, and thank you for your advice. So, are there any specific guidelines for setting a realistic fitness goals?
Yes, I would say make sure that they're specific, maintainable. You got to take action on those. They got to be a little bit realistic, but also manageable. You don't want to set a goal for something that you know that can't be achievable, as far as your health and fitness goals. So let's maybe look at a 12-month goal, and let's break it down to how we're going to get there in 6 months, kind of 6 month increments, and then break those down into maybe 3 months, and then a month at a time for that, because if not, it's super overwhelming. And in my opinion, you won't get there. So break them down into smart goals, actionable, achievable, and attainable, and anything's possible as far as that goes.
Certainly, set your short term and long term goals, just like Mr. Aaron Hines. So, how does the book suggest integrating fitness routines into a busy lifestyle?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like kind of what I do, I mean, I'm a busy guy as well, so it's more or less of like find the time, set the time, and take action as far as your workout goes. It's easy to make excuses about why we can't work out. We're too busy. I mean, life's busy. We're all busy. So if you can put it in your planner or on your calendar, and you set that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 30 minute of working out. I mean, as long as you put it on your calendar and achieve it, that's what really matters for that. Because if we don't put it down, if we don't put it on our planner or calendar, we're not going to do it. We're going to find every excuse to make. I got to go home and cook supper, or I've got to fold laundry. And by the time you look at the clock, it's too late, and you haven't gotten your workout in. So take action. That's the biggest key.
Certainly. Do it now, people. Stop procrastinating. So, what role does rest and recovery play in the fitness plan's outline?
Yeah, rest and recovery, I like to think is going to be um, almost the biggest impact and most important thing for that. Because as we exercise, we're breaking muscles down, and we're trying to get that rest and recovery for repair, to get those strength gains. And I know a lot of times You see a lot of stuff out there now of all the successful people's routines that they get up at 3 a.m. and they stay up till midnight and all these crazy things. But in reality, if we're not getting the sleep that we need and the recovery that we need, we're not going to get the gains we want and the gains we desire for that. Because a lot of times we're not getting the sleep we need. You're working all day. A lot of times we're not planning our food. Our nutrition takes a toll. So when you look down at the scale after 2 weeks, you've gained the 5 pounds that you're trying to lose. So we're kind of in a negative mindset a little bit too, because we're gaining weight instead of losing it. So if we have the rest recovery in place, the nutrition is going to take its place as well as far as the strength on top of that. So it's kind of like a looks like a pyramid. If equally on track, we're usually going to be making more progress. But if one's way off, it's going to impact the others as well. So I like to think sleep is going to be more important than the exercise because if you don't get enough sleep, your exercise routine is going to be pretty crappy. And I know from firsthand experience and working with hundreds of clients over the years, if you're sleepy, you're going to go through the motions. And if you're well rested, you're going to get after it and get the work done and see the results long term.
Definitely. So, Mr. Aaron, did you discuss the benefits of group exercise or fitness communities in your book?
As far as getting involved in some of the fitness communities, we talk about finding something that you can engage in and be more involved in as far as that, whether that's a gym, whether that's a pickleball community, finding something to be active with. Because in the community aspect of exercise, you're going to be more apt to show up and take action and be more involved with that because one, it holds you accountable, and two, you're going to want to show up and have fun. I think that's the biggest thing with that is just the community side of that. If you find a group of like-minded people and want to work out together and just exercise, you're not going to want to miss. And by not missing, you're going to hit all those targets we talked about of the 1 month goals, the 3 month goals, the 6 month goals, and then before long, you've turned that into a habit, and you're not really going to think about it. You're going to do the exercise as opposed to make the excuses.
Certainly. So, how does the book approach the topic of monitoring progress and adjusting fitness plans accordingly?
Yeah, so we like to think about the adjustment is going to be when we kind of plateau. We've always kind of got to a point where we've kind of got stagnant with our exercises, or maybe it's even with your food intake. So a lot of times we want to just kind of push through it, and sometimes that doesn't work. So it's either changing the modality of the exercise, and that's just the type of exercise that we're doing. So if it's going from real heavy strength training, you could be doing a lot more high reps, and maybe we need to adjust the reps to increasing the weight and lowering the repetitions. As far as that goes, it could be from doing less cardio, more strength training. A lot of times that will kind of put you over the hump as far as burning more fat and building more muscle will start to give you the results you need as opposed to just relying only on the cardiovascular exercise aspect. I see that a lot where you get 30 to 60 minutes a day and that's all people do. And you can tell like kind of body type. That's the only thing they really do because they have no musculature, no muscle tone, and their strength is still pretty weak. So that's the biggest thing with that is changing the things as you become stagnant and bored. Let's mix it up. Let's do something. Maybe we do 30 minutes of high intensity exercise. Maybe do 30 minutes of pickleball and 30 minutes of strength training because the pickleball are going to be moving in all dimensions, forward and backwards and side to side. You're also going to be using a lot of muscles you probably didn't know you had, but also just changing things up. And that's where we really start to feel better, but also seeing some of those gains that we haven't seen if we're continuing to do the same old thing day in, day out.
Very well said, Mr. Aaron. Very well said. So, before we wrap up our discussion for tonight, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, people. Fifth season already. And with my co host, Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. So, please do listen to our latest episode we are reading our letter senders all over the world. So, Mr. Aaron, what resources or additional tools does Active and Ageless provide to support readers on their fitness journey?
Yeah, it really gives you it's a self-starter guide for your health and fitness journey. It's a outline through that. We put some exercise programs in there, our program. I could call that singular for that. So if you don't know where to start, it's a really good starting point for you. And I would say, just kind of disclaimer on that, it's not a one size fits all. So if you do have injuries or ailments or things like that you need to stay away from, obviously you can make those adjustments. But it gives listeners and those who read the book um, a starting point, because we all need to start somewhere in our health and fitness journey. And this is the best place to start right here, because a lot of things out there are so complex and confusing. This is where you should start here and kind of build on that. So once you master the basics in the book, then you can start being more complex and finding out more fun ways to exercise with your health and fitness journey.
Mr. Aaron Hines, best-selling author, thank you so much for sharing your books to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support all your books as
Yeah, you
well
can,
as your business?
yeah, you can find me on Instagram mainly and Facebook. It's the handle on Instagram is at Premier Performance TN. We're on Facebook, but you can also find all the books on Amazon.com. Just search my name, Aaron Hines, and there will be 5 different books there you can choose from.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Aaron Hines because if you support him, more and more and more business to come, more empowering books to come. So, Mr. Aaron Hines, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.